Hello and welcome to our Tunnels and Trolls campaign. I'm making this video first of all as an introduction to the players that will be hopefully entering my new game. So I'm going to pick a day, we're going to say Thursdays, and every other week we're going to be gaming. That game though, and this is also why I'm doing this video, will be broadcast live on YouTube. So, we got to try out the live stuff as well, so this might be kind of fun. Now, I started Tunnels and Trolls, way back, let's see, middle school, be like 80, 82, somewhere between there. And it was a friend of mine, I was doing a sleepover at his house, and his brother they were playing a different game, a superhero game, actually Champions. And we were playing a game that they'd quit playing called Tunnels and Trolls. Now, it was an earlier version of the game, not the first version, but the one right after that. And we went ahead and we enjoyed that. We spent the entire day just making characters and trying to get out of town into the woods, which had lions out in the plains, and none of us ever got out of it. But it introduced me to gaming as a concept. Well, after years, I looked at some of things, especially the solo modules, and certain ones I realized were kind of around the same area, which I thought was interesting. And that was the City of Terror and the Sewers of Oblivion. It was also known as City of Gaul. And this was like one of the few cities that were, well, as far as I saw, actually fit the main basic types of characters you got to play in the game as it first starts out. And that's where I kind of set my first world, and I kind of, built it from there. And then I had some friends ask about me restarting a game years later. And I went ahead and pulled out all the old notes and stuff. And then the new game came out, the newest version, through Kickstarter. And I took the information on that one and combined it into what I'd done before. And kind of found the mid-ground on some areas, as well as using other books. Because I decided I wanted to start with a true city campaign, where there's this. Basically, I want to establish them to have a feeling for the city and a reason to care for the city, so later on when bigger threats made a danger to the city, they would care and not just run. It happens sometimes in games. So keeping that in mind, I'm now going to be going through some information that I actually gathered from the books and give you an introduction of the area as well as some of my information and some stuff that's just the additional angle I gave on some of this stuff based upon some of my older games, things I picked up from the modules I'd mentioned, some solo modules. There are actually a few that tie into the area. So I kind of wound those in. And the newer book of the world, the newest Tunnels and Trolls rulebook, like the one I mentioned from Kickstarter, it kind of established a world later in time. So it's actually kind of an evolution of the world. So this new world kind of made sense, and well, this is that world. So I'm going to now introduce you to the world that we will be playing, and some of you will be playing, and others will have a chance to watch us build and develop into, because the directions the players take will also affect the direction I take on the game. Basically, all my missions or adventures are tied to locations in the town. Where they choose to go will introduce what they will be exposed to as it progresses. And we'll both, me and the players, kind of see where this goes. The missions, for the most part, are drawn out of interpretations of the stuff I read in the City Book. City Book 1, actually. I think it was actually built for RuneQuest at first. But it's a great book for developing an interesting city. Some would ask, and have asked me before, why Tunnels and Trolls? Games like Dungeons and Dragons are much more popular and have a lot more accessories. But that's part of the problem, see. I found with D&D, certain players, I like to call them rules rapists, would find little detailed rules in the dungeon, in the magazines, or in different modules, and they would all start arguing over that. And And our games became more about the realism of the system, or if it was adhering to the exacts, like a science module, of the written guidelines, as TSR said. Then we found we had very little time to enjoy the game. I found Tunnels and Trolls' simple system flowed quicker. Details on the realism I didn't find important because it's a game. Tunnels and Trolls allowed a much more open feeling, free flow of story with enough balance that due to the differences on the percentages of rolls, not even percentage because it's based on dice 6, of course. And I found that more enjoyable. So that's why we're back here again. Now we may be taking this game and, or if you wish to, you can take anything I've done here, pieces of parts, whatever, and make your own campaign. You can take some of the intro I'm about to use and use it for yours. I didn't write it fully. Like I said, I've gathered it in parts here and there, put it together, took out what I didn't need and left in, and altered things to what I needed. Mostly it's lifted out of the books, so it's not mine to claim. But if the players can listen to and watch the video I'll have with it, they might find it more enjoyable and easier to get into the game. The world of Troll World had been pestered and destroyed and rebuilt and shaped by the wars of great wizards in the lands of Zor, Mainland, and Rilith. These great continents, known as also the Dragon Continent, the Unicorn Continent, and the Eagle Continent. These lands and their wizards, as well as some of the islands in between them, fought for years, destroyed, rebuilt, shaped the people and the things that live there. But that's not where our story begins. Down at what's known as the Paw of Rilith, the Dragon Continent, are a group of islands. Center to them all is one known as Foron. Foron was an isle south of Gar, west of Darksmoke, west of the human city-states, an island that was centrally established by pirates. Center on this island was the city of Gull, also in its earlier years known as the City of Terrors. Foron largely escaped the ravages of the Wizard War, resulting in its being pristine when the pirates found it. There are even unspoiled preserves further north. Gull is located here at the southern end of the island of Faron. The prince assures you in his speeches that while the city's glories cannot be overestimated, its dangers always are. The people of Gull are friendly, good trade partners, and as proud of our past as we are of forging a future. The city was founded here at the Cial River Delta by the pirates known as the Ravagers. The waters around Foron are known as the Range Sea. The Rangers named their settlement Gull in honor of the ship which had brought them to Foron. They improved the harbor, and soon pirates of all stripes enjoyed their trading here. The harbor's narrow approach channel warded it as if it was by spells, with land on each side and fortresses at the end of each, which frustrated its attempt by pirates to take it. Fair trade and sweet water encouraged maritime trade, hence the city's prospering and growth as a trade center. The original Rangers were all granted letters of marque by the prince to engage in their trade. Gull is a trade center. One can find almost anything here to buy and consume or barter or sell. While we do have our own community of artisans who are noted for their workmanship's craft in jewelry, crafting, glassblowing, and pottery, our markets are filled with treasures from all over the world. Some will tell you they even come from multiple worlds. The citizens of Gull do not judge. We accept all kinds and their gold. At least. Gull has a vibrant wizards guild here. It's known as the Circle. Members often wear pins, amulets, cloaks, casques, and rings to proclaim their membership. Circle does not look kindly upon unregulated magical practices, although, with the efforts of the prince in trying to get the Circle involved in the health matters of the city, they have a few universities of magic registration by the rogues for legal use, primarily the healers. A rogue specialized in healing. The healers were to fill the Gull City's disease control, while later, masons were developed to help in the rebuilding of the old sewers. This opened the magic of the priests, who were always in Gull City, but always had to hide in the shadows. The prince approved this, and the Circle came to receive their teaching these classes in magic. No group, though, can petition for a school of magic which already exists. And since the basics of all magic and the creme are already covered, there should be no more. But who knows what will be discovered. When they catch someone using magic in an unapproved manner, and they always do, just ask them, the individual is tried and punished. Usually they're branded with a crescent on the back of their hand. Thus, they are known as crescents. Enforcement of these laws falls upon the Circle's own red-robed priests. There's only a tiny sliver of the old city, a squalid, cramped slum full of twisted streets, dark alleys and passageways through buildings which defy mapping. It has its own self-proclaimed overlord. He's a thief known as the Eagle. Many years ago, he and the prince reached an accord. It was agreed that in exchange for the moderation in their conduct, the black market, if you will, would go unmolested by city authorities. In recent years, however, two thieves have tested the prince's patience, Merrick and Reyes. Though consistently waging a war against the city's gem merchants, the reasons for this conflict are shrouded in mystery. Rumor has it that the Black Dragon Tavern has a life-size wooden statue of a gem merchant, stolen from one of the merchant houses in the dead of the night. Prince rules that the benefit of input from the Circle, the Greater Gull Merchants Association, and a panel of advisors drawn from nobles and citizens, it is not unheard of for him to interview citizens in gaining information on what is best for its people. The Grand and Lesser Bazaar. It operates at all hours and in all weathers. The weekends, the local farmers have their wares into this northernmost area. Otherwise, the space is given over to visiting merchants, tinkers, prophets, and mendicants. Surrounding the market and working north are the merchants, who require more permanent working conditions, such as blacksmiths, cobblers, carpenters, cabinet makers, alchemists, tailors, and leather workers. Past that area there, the tower on that hill is the Circle's home. They train many students there. Blockier buildings are for apprentices who live there full-time. Some do commute for study, and they live further north in the newer and wealthier parts of town. Surrounding the Circle's tower is where the gem merchants, gold merchants, and spice traders maintain their homes and businesses. On the east side of the river, again, just past the harbor, is the old city. Common men live there, honest workers, but Gull has its fair share of rag and bone men. The eastern edge is where you'll find the thieves, were you to be so inclined. North of that, just before the Palace Hill, is our educational district. It used to be the military district, of course, for Gaul does house and train the garrisons and warlords' forces there, but it is also home to a number of sword and combat schools. Concentrated in the valley beneath the Palace Hill and the lesser nobility there is a district given to our finest artisans. They maintain small workshops and dedicated apprentices and incredibly high standards. Our glassblowers especially benefit from unique elements of the earth which allow them to imbue their products with vibrant colors. Much of their work is also very receptive to enchantment. Likewise, the cloth, metalwork, and other luxurious work products here have won worldwide acclaim and should prove profitable for you. The marble building atop the hill to the northeast is home to the Greater Gaul Merchants Association. Not only does this body advise the prince in economic policy, but it really forms the heart of the Gaul economy. The scribes therein can provide all sorts of useful trade information. More importantly, the trade brokers are incredibly skilled at working on your behalf to get you the best deals possible. If you have a need, someone on that hill will know how to fulfill it. Just inside Northgate is the Temple District. As benefits the city, which is the crossroads of the world, Gaul is home to temples, shrines, sanctuaries, and connected to the host of gods. The largest temple is that of the sea god, Arash Nevaraparta, the blue beetle. It's revered by the native population here. Every century or two, an army of blue beetles, each as long as your thumb, burrows from the ground. They cover the landscape in a writhing azure carpet, devouring most everything. Then they pour themselves into the river and out to sea. The fish devour them, providing a most bountiful catch, which is good since anything else edible is long since gone. Most consider it a civic duty to offer sacrifices to the blue beetle god in hopes of assuaging its rampaging hunger. Since it has been nearly 2 centuries since the last invasion, many believe this effort has been a success, and just as many are waiting for the beetles to rise again. The other god, more of the godling actually, is Cronus. He appears to be concerned with matters of time, common in diviners. There is even a small shrine to the death goddess. Just look for the open sewer. Take several steps downstream, and it will be there at your left. The princess's masons have excavated for the replacing of sewers and storm canals. They're uncovering evidence of residual magic. People have gone missing down there in the old sewers, one time known as the Sewers of Oblivion. If you are intent upon venturing down there, it's illegal, because of the fear of bringing back some plague. Disease was as much a problem as whatever creature was down there. Last but not least is Northgate. The river road heads north out of the city, and from there beyond are various estates of local nobility and the richest of the merchants. Every year, they push a little further north, carving civilization into the island's interior. They're always finding something out there, from smugglers' havens to lost tribes of Uruk. There are tales told of real dangers, even further north. But they are truly also seen as fodder for frightening unruly children.